Welcome to the Hamsig Analytics Daily Market Commentary. I'm Pablo Navarro. Today is Monday, October 22, 2012. For the market internals, the New York Stock Exchange advanced decline differential closed at negative 94. Nasdaq advanced decline differential closed at negative 31. We had 7 new 52-week highs for the S&P 500 and 4 new 52-week lows for the S&P 500. Pretty flat and neutral here. For the volatility, 293,000 contracts traded on the VIX today, with 34 million in total premiums paid. For the dollar-weighted put-call ratio in November, we saw a 0.7, which is neutral with 72% of the total premiums paid. On December, a 0.82 reading, which is neutral with 22% of the total premiums paid. Again, a very neutral reading. Here we have the daily chart for SPX. We have an update today. 0.62, pretty flat for the day, but overall we have an interesting candle here. We have a hammer here and maybe a spinning top doji, so we're gonna take that. Tonight we have the presidential debate. We're gonna see how that goes, and tomorrow we're gonna see how the market comes up here. Maybe we continue our rally here. We did rally a lot into the close from the lows of the day, which was quite positive here. So the targets we're looking from here is 1444. That is 0 sigma on the daily chart. That's on the upside. If we go down from here, we're looking for 1423 and 1413. Those are going to be the targets here we're looking at. For the weekly support, pivot, and resistance, we are below weekly pivot at 1441. That is going to be our target here above. And if we break that to the upside, maybe go to 1455. On the downside, we're looking for 1418, let's call it 1419, and 1404. Those are going to be the important targets here on the weekly support, pivot, and resistance for SPX. If we go to our moving average, you could see here we broke the upward trend line. We had also the 50-day moving average Friday, and today we close above it, just at it. So we're going to have to watch here what's going to happen tomorrow. We want to get above this upward trend line that is acting now as resistance. You can see it here. 55-day moving average is right now at 1434, and we closed at 1433, so pretty much at it. We want to see what happens tomorrow. Maybe with this upward momentum we got into the close, we could break that and go even higher. We need to resume this upward pattern fast. As you can see here, we're in a range. This is starting to get pretty tight here. We're maybe looking for a breakout of this pattern. If we do fail at this level, we are going to go lower, maybe test this 1424 and maybe even lower to 1400. Those are the targets on a longer time frame. As you can see here, this pattern is starting to get a little tight here as the upper range is flat and our upward trend line is closing. Let's go to SPY and let's get the weekly support, pivot, and resistance for this chart. We want to get above 144.20. That's going to be our weekly pivot, and our next target on the upside 145.65. that's going to be very important here to break above that level. If we fail at these levels, we're going to 141.90, let's call it 142, and let's talk about a little bit lower, 140.46. That's going to be the target on the downside, so 140.46. We have a lot of important numbers coming out this week from companies. We have Amazon, Apple. This morning we had Caterpillar, Freeport-McMoRan. So we have important numbers here, and we're going to have to watch what the SPY does from here. We want to break this 55-day moving average to the upside and come and test this 144.50 level. That's the 20-day moving average. That's going to be pretty important here overall. For the Qs here, we have the Nasdaq ETF. We were up 0.72% for the day. This was mostly Apple. Apple was up today 4% after the big sell-off we had on Friday. We're going to look at Apple chart in a second, but here we have the weekly pivot at 66.53, and then on the upside we're looking for 67.45. That's going to be our target here. Very important numbers coming out this week so for the Nasdaq ETF, so have a watch on those names. On the downside, if we get some bad numbers, maybe 63.83. The reason I'm keeping the 64.75 is that Apple is a huge component here. If they miss, they're probably taking this one down a lot, and maybe even go to 63.83, that the one I just mentioned. On the daily chart, here we have our moving averages, and we are right now at the 100-day moving average, closing at it. So maybe try some pullback, maybe come on this 65 level, maybe a good entry level for here. Try to get some type of a rally to this 20-day moving average of 67.88. That's gonna be what we're watching here on the Nasdaq ETF. Of course, Apple is gonna be the biggest component this week. Here we have, let's go to Apple chart. This one is the daily chart. Friday, we broke very important levels of support. We broke the 100-day moving average and our upward trend line. We even broke the 150-day moving average into the close. We had a pretty deep sell-off on Apple, but today we were up 4% and took pretty much everything we sold off on Friday and gained somewhat. So we're looking for higher prices here in Apple. If we got good numbers from it, maybe 661 or even to a 700 level if we get some good numbers. Tomorrow we have the launch of the iPad mini. That's going to be a very important event also for Apple. So let's keep an eye on this one to watch the levels for the Nasdaq. Here we have the IWM, the Russell 2000 ETF, and we talked about some bearish pattern here. We broke some support, and today we confirmed lower. So from here we're looking for lower numbers until 80.37, which is the 200-day moving average. On the upside, 82.50, 82.80. That's going to be our resistance around these levels. Very important levels to watch here on the Russell 2000 ETF. As for GLD, the daily chart for GLD, here we have it, and we are above the 55-day moving average. We broke it Friday intraday momentarily, but then we were able to close above it, which was positive, and looks like we're starting here to try to bounce off this 55-day moving average after this pullback we had from the previous highs, and try maybe to go for this 70.69 level. That's the 20-day moving average. That's going to be important here on GLD to go. Last chart we're going to look at is the VIX. Here we have the daily chart for the VIX. Friday we talked about touching that 200-day moving average, and today we are failing. This is very positive for equities here. If we are able to fail, not just one day, but just bounce back maybe to this 1450 level, 1565 level. That's going to be very important here for the VIX and equities, maybe to take another breather as we leg up higher. We have a special offer by TradeStation. Get your Hemsley Analytics proprietary indicators paid by TradeStation. Contact Active Traders office in Chicago, Peter Albino, at the number listed below. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.